Hello, I'm Angela Webb, the author of Pegs to Paper. I'd like to talk you through how to use now the resources for Step 3 of the programme, again designed for all children in the early years, aged 3 to 5. Within Step 3, there are 3 separate stages to complete. For Stage 1, the main focus is teaching for transfer, so that children have an opportunity to consolidate their learning by producing the patterns made on the pegboard onto new apparatus, this time the link and lace board. Begin setting up your workspace by replicating the pegs, pots and pen setup from Step 2. Though this time, add a matching colour lace from your pack into each pot. Now select a link and lace board and applicator pen, positioning it in front of the child. You will see that the applicator pen has a triangular design. This is intended to continue to encourage a good tripod grasp suitable for handwriting. As before, ensure that the pots are placed on the less dominant side of the board. For example, a right-handed child would have the pots positioned on the left side. Select a clearboard dot sheet and cloth from your pack, ensuring that the 10 by 10 dot sheet is face side up. Select cards numbered 1 to 6 and work your way sequentially through each one. Again, study each pattern to form a description based on the colour and position of the laces. Present the card to the child and ask him to copy the pattern onto the link and lace board using your description. For the first pattern in the sequence, you'd say something like, make a straight line down with a lace on the left side of the board. This transference of the pegboard patterns onto a lacing board is an essential step, as it will create a deeper and more robust understanding of the concepts taught. In order to complete the patterns with the link and lace board, the child must first choose the relevant coloured lace and thread it into the applicator pen. This activity of itself demands good hand-eye coordination. Guide the child to hold the applicator with the 2 forefingers and thumb, as with the pegs. It encourages the ergonomic tripod grasp for handwriting. To produce the pattern, feed the lace through the back end of the applicator, leaving about 1 centimetre exposed at the nib. Simply push the lace into the hole and pull it out and move along to the next. When you've finished, pull the lace out of the board to refresh the canvas. As the laces are placed into the board, the relevant muscles for handwriting are strengthened in the wrist and arm, and the unique movement of the applicator also strengthens specific muscles of the fingers. Once the pattern has been completed on the board, ask the child to say what's been done. Again, this way you can check if the descriptive language given in the instruction has been retained. For the first pattern in the sequence, we would expect this child to say something like, I've made a straight red line with a lace down the left side of the board. If the child struggles to describe what's been done, talk them through it again with the colours and the positions of the laces. Now take the clearboard dot sheet and ask the child to copy the pattern from the board, using the pens and drawing the lines to connect the printed dots. This represents a conceptual move, showing how separate dots can represent a continuous line. If you wish to document a child's progress, you can write the name on the dotted line and photocopy or photograph the clearboard dot sheet. Once finished, wipe the clearboard clean with the cloth provided. Progress through all 6 work cards in the same manner, and then you are ready to move on to Stage 2 of Step 3. The focus of Stage 2 of Step 3 is once again to work with a pegboard, but this time copying established patterns which underpin the ability to write cursive script. Later, we'll be recommending transferring these patterns onto the link and lace board. Begin by setting up your workspace by replicating the setup from Step 2. Select cards numbers 7 to 12 and work your way sequentially through each one. As before, study each pattern to form a description based on the colour, number and position of the pegs. Present the card to the child and ask him or her to copy the pattern onto the pegboard using your description. For this pattern in the sequence, you'd say something like, Copy this pattern onto the bottom of the board using 8 red pegs and 8 pink pegs, starting on the left. When the child begins to copy the pattern onto the board using the pegs, ensure that the recommended method of using the more dominant hand and gripping the peg with the 2 forefingers and thumb is maintained as in the previous exercises. Once the patterns have been completed, ask the child to repeat back to you what's been done. This way, you can monitor their understanding and check that they're using the language given in the instruction. Now take the clearboard dot sheet and ask the child to copy the pattern from the pegboard using the pens, forming the circles around the dots in an anti-clockwise direction. If you wish to document the child's progress, you can write the name on the dotted line and photocopy or photograph the clearboard dot sheet. Once finished, wipe the clearboard clean with the cloth provided. Progress through all 6 word cards in the same manner. Then you are ready to progress onto stage 3 of step 3. The focus of stage 3 of step 3 is to replicate the cursive script patterns which have just been made on the pegboard now onto the link and lace board. Producing these patterns onto the link and lace board will require the greatest dexterity so far and will help to assimilate all the learning achieved throughout the program. Start by setting up your workspace, replicating the setup used in stage 1 of step 3. Select cards numbered 13 to 18 and work your way sequentially through each one. As before, study each pattern to form a description based on the colours and positions of the laces. Present the card to the child and ask him or her to copy the pattern onto the board using your description. For this pattern in the sequence, you would say something like, copy this pattern onto the bottom of the board using a red lace, starting from the left and working across the board towards the right. When the child begins to copy the pattern onto the board using the laces, ensure once again that the recommended method of using the more dominant hand and gripping the applicator with the 2 forefingers and thumb is maintained as in the previous exercises. Once the pattern's been completed on the board, ask the child to say what's been done to draw out the language given in the instruction, as has been done in the previous exercises. Now take the clearboard dot sheet and ask the child to copy the pattern from the board using the pens. Throughout these exercises, the child should focus on the 3 rows of mark making shown on the work card and tackle each one at a time. The first row requires the child to form circles around the printed dots, as in the pegboard activities before. The second row requires the child to connect the dots with lines, as in the link and lace activities beforehand, turning discrete dots into continuous lines. And last, the third and final row requires the child to combine the circle and line work into one. Progress through all 6 work cards in the same manner, and then you will have completed step 3.